global population. That's awesome. So what do y'all think? Should we get started? Give folks a couple minutes.
Give a few minutes.
Okay, great. Can do.
Maybe we can start at 5 minutes past.
Great. Great. All right. I think we're 5 minutes past the hour. Shall we get started? All right. I'm seeing some nods of approval. So first, we wanted to kind of get a sense for what everyone's experience level is. And so I did have a poll, but now seems not to be working. So apologies for that technical difficulty. I guess if you want to drop in the chat your level of experience, and we can kind of monitor that and get started. So I will share my screen. Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where in the world you are, because I know that we're really coming from all around the world, which is pretty, I think, amazing. And we're all here today to celebrate women and non-binary people of African descent in STEM fields. So that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine, if you add an extra M. And so we are a partnership of 3 organizations, 500 Women Scientists, Whose Knowledge, and AfroCrowd. And this is part of the Visible Wiki Women initiative, which you will hear more about in a moment. We have a bunch of representatives from our different organizations on this session today. And so in the interest of, in the spirit of Visible Wiki Women, here is our team from 500 Women Scientists, the team from Whose Knowledge, and the team from AfroCrowd. And so you'll be hearing more about the amazing work happening at these organizations. I guess I should say that I'm Miriam Zeringalam and I work with 500 women scientists. I always forget to introduce myself. I don't know why. I guess maybe I like some sense of anonymity or humility or something like that. We have a pretty packed agenda to really celebrate to the maximum extent possible. So we'll start first with a kickoff talk, and then we will have an editing demo from the amazing Mariana from Whose Knowledge and Visible Wiki Women. Then we will have, and during our introduction, we're going to have a panel session with representatives from our different organizations. Then we'll have an opportunity, a little break, a pause to share some images that you all have found or collected, or images or selfies. And then we will have hands-on sessions where we'll break you out into breakout rooms to get a little bit deeper, dive deeper into editing, to sharing photos on Wikimedia Commons, perhaps editing Wikipedia and editing Wikidata. And we'll talk about all of that. And then at the end, we will have a little bit of a sort of closing reflections and take a group photo for anybody who is interested in taking a group photo. So now I want to turn it over to my colleague and collaborator, Len, from Whose Knowledge, to do a bit of sort of expectation and table setting before we dive into our session.
Hey, hi everybody. It's so exciting to be here. It is my first time at a Wikipedia edit-a-thon as well. So I am learning as this process goes on. So my name is Yulendri or Len Apasami, and I'm the Communications Associate for the Visible Wiki Women campaign here at Whose Knowledge. And my pronouns are Len, she, they. So making sure this edit-a-thon is a safe and comfortable space for gender diverse, gender queer, non-conforming people, for femmes, for women is really important to us, as we're here to amplify and celebrate the work of people who are often marginalized in mainstream and Western constructs of personhood, of science. So we don't want to replicate that othering process at this edit-a-thon. So a few kind of pointers around that. Let's be mindful of how we address others in the space. Let's avoid gendering a person unless they've stated what their pronouns are or how they would prefer to be addressed. Let's not assume someone's sexuality or other aspects of their identity unless they've vocalized them. And let's also remember we're here with some shared goals and shared ideas. We want to add to the tapestry of feminist memory online through making Afro-descendant, non-binary people and women in STEM more visible on Wikipedia. So I will be co-lead on safety during the edit-a-thon with Sunshine, our campaign coordinator, who will introduce herself later on. If you need to contact me, if you feel uncomfortable in the space, in a breakout room, for example, if you're witness to harassment or are subject to it yourself, please private message me here on Zoom, or you could also drop me a Telegram. My name on Telegram is @Yulendri, and I'll just put that in the chat as well. Otherwise, just to say happy editing, everybody.
Thank you so much for setting the table for us. So we'll now go into why we're here. Why, and maybe you can drop in the chat why you were interested in joining this edit-a-thon and celebrating today with us. But from my perspective, when I think about the power of editing something like Wikipedia, of sharing images on Wikimedia Commons, of creating sort of pathways to entry into being on Wikipedia, I think of the story of Marie Curie's Wikipedia page. So Marie Curie, I think, is one of the most famous women scientists in the world. But when she first had a Wikipedia page, she actually shared it with her husband, Pierre Curie. And so you couldn't learn about her accomplishments or contributions without also reading about her husband and her relationship to her husband. Until one day, an editor came along and said, this woman's contributions are so outstanding and her story deserves to be on its own. And so that editor went ahead and created a separate page for Marie Curie so that her accomplishments, again, could be there to read separate from her husband's. And so I think about, you know, if we had back in the time of decades ago when we were putting the first person on the moon, if we had Wikipedia, we could have learned about the stories of the amazing Black women computers, Mary Jackson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Katherine Johnson, without having had to wait for the novel Hidden Figures and the hit film based on the not a novel, it's a true account, based on the book. We wouldn't have had to wait all of these decades to learn about these really remarkable women who got us to the moon. And when I think about, you know, their stories being on Wikipedia and images that reflect the true diversity of the people who are leading STEM fields, I just think about kind of the implications for education and for how we consume narratives around who does science and who science is for, especially when we consider sort of where we are today. So this was a study that was done a couple of years ago where researchers looked through the 7 most commonly used introductory biology textbooks and found that Black scientists accounted for less than 1% of the names mentioned in those textbooks. And none of those scientists mentioned were women. And if textbook citations from Black and African American scientists continue at that same rate, it would take us over 1,000 years, 1,000 years to reflect the general population in the United States. So obviously this is way, way, way underrepresented when we think about sort of the global outside of the US context. And so whose stories are on Wikipedia matters tremendously. It can help us sort of get closer to that, to true representation more quickly. If we are, you know, as editors who care deeply about representation, about celebrating the stories of everyone who is leading in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine, there's a tremendous power in making sure that those stories are told on Wikipedia so that maybe one day, very soon, they'll get into those textbooks instead of having to wait for 1,000 years. And I think about this, you know, again, in this education context and the work of Heather Hart and Gina Valentine, who host monthly Wikipedia edit-a-thons, where in 6 years they introduced 1,200 entries for Black artists through these events onto Wikipedia. And what they say is that Wikipedia is on the front lines of art history, and I think in our case of the history of STEM fields. And so that's a little bit of, you know, why to me, I think we're here to celebrate the contributions of women and non-binary scientists of African descent. But to give me a break from talking and to give you all the benefit of getting to hear the amazing perspectives of people from our 3 organizations, I wanted to now turn it over to our panelists to come and give a bit more of context. So we have with us Nicole Williams from 500 Women Scientists, Sherry Antoine from AfroCrowd, and Kelly, are you here? Yes, and Kelly from Whose Knowledge. So I will turn it over to you all to talk about sort of why, what we can do here and why it is really important.
Sounds good. I can start. Thanks so much, Miriam, for this wonderful opportunity, and also to the Wiki team. So once again, my name is Nicole Williams. I'm the Director of Outreach at 500 Women Scientists. I'm also a marine biologist, very knowledgeable on diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice practices and policies, and I'm so passionate about making sure that Black women are supported and represented in the space. So I wanted to start with just seeing yourself represented in science or having mentors that look like you is so important. I remember growing up, a lot of people saying it doesn't matter, or doesn't matter what color you are as long as you have a mentor. I'm here to tell you that is so not true. Growing up as a young African-American woman, I always knew I wanted to be a scientist. I would go to countless museums and I would be that child who would write down tons of notes, always wanted to, do more in that space. I participated in so many after school programs, summer programs that taught me about different areas of science. However, what I was lacking was seeing other scientists that look like me. I remember just being very discouraged. You hear about all these white male scientists and their achievements. And it's like, okay, well, I know that women scientists are doing so much, but why weren't we learning about them? I remember trying to find a list of Black women marine scientists, but just coming up short. Fast forward now to job searching as a woman of color. Many jobs have the traditional diversity, equity, inclusion statement, but what does that really mean? How are you going to support me and provide me with the tools necessary to succeed while I'm working? And then looking at who is on the team or who is on the staff is also very telling. If a company says that they care about DEI efforts, but their staff is not diverse at all, then that is a huge red flag. So as the Director of Outreach, I helped to develop strategic partnerships with other organizations that align with our mission, which is to make science open, accessible, and inclusive. And our end goal is always to amplify and highlight women and gender diverse individuals who are underrepresented in STEM. So now I just wanted to highlight a few of our programs that are centered around building community and amplifying women, especially women and non-binary people of African descent, which is, of course, the theme for today's Wiki event. So I'm going to start with Gauge. And Gauge is the world's largest search directory of women and gender diverse individuals in STEM. It's a way for journalists, conference planners, and the media to find and connect with a diverse group of STEM experts. So you can search by ethnicity, location, STEM field, or use our new bulk search function. And the platform has also been translated into 7 different languages. In the past few years, we've done things like Twitter takeovers and Instagram lives with various people on our platform to amplify the amazing work that they're doing. As long as you are 18 years or older, you can create a free profile on our Gauge platform. We're also launching next year what we're calling Gauge Academy, which is a series of free trainings and workshops for our Gauge members. And some of the topics are going to include how to negotiate your salary, a wellness workshop, how to advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and how to write an op-ed. So stay tuned for workshop dates. And if you are just learning about Gauge and want to create a free profile, you can go to gauge.500womenscientists.org or email us at gauge@500womenscientists.org. You can also follow us on Twitter at gauge_500womenscientists. So now I wanted to also highlight our local chapters, which we call pods. We currently have 542 pods in 93 different countries, which is really amazing. Our pods are open to any woman or gender diverse person who supports our mission. They're not associated with any particular university or other organization. Our pods are what make 500 Women Scientists truly grassroots. So far, our pods have hosted things like happy hours, film screenings, trivia nights, book clubs, and have attended conferences together. We know that diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice is really important to our mission. And as part of our professional development, we are now in the process of offering free DEI sessions for our leadership team and our pod members. So you can go to the link 500womenscientists.org/joining-a-pod to find a pod near you. However, if you don't see a pod in your area, you can also start a new chapter. But we ask that you are at least 18 years old to do that as well. For any additional questions, you can also email us at pods@500womenscientists.org. The next program that I wanted to highlight briefly is our Fellowship for the Future program, which is a 2-year leadership program for women of color who are leading community-based STEM projects within their own communities. So far, we have supported 9 amazing women of color, and we've provided them with stipends and funding for their projects, trainings, workshops, in-person retreats, and an array of different additional resources. We also recently hired a fellowship director and manager to oversee this wonderful program. We're going to be hosting a grant writing workshop specifically for our fellows this upcoming October, as well as doing an Instagram Live with a few of the fellows. So to learn more about this program, you can follow, or you can check out 500womenscientists.org/fellowship for the future. And I'm just going to end with our Wiki edit-a-thon. So we've designed programming to ensure that the contributions of women and people from gender minorities leading in science, technology, engineering, math, and medicine are reflected in the world's largest free encyclopedia. And I'm just going to list the stats. I just wanted to highlight those. So far we have had 795 editors, 855,000 words added, 84.4 million views, 3,000 articles edited, and 351 articles created, which is really wonderful. We're really making a difference. So for those of you who want to schedule a separate Wiki event with your team or organization, or even find out what we're doing next, you can visit 500womenscientists.org/Wiki edit-a-thon. So thank you, and I'm really looking forward to participating in this event today. So I'll turn it over to our next panelist.
Thank you. Sherry, I know that you have a video that you wanted to share. So I've given you host permissions. Are you able to share that?
I think Sherry may have dropped off, so maybe Kelly could go and then.
Okay, yeah, Kelly, you can take it away and I'll put you on pin. There we go.
Whilst I'm speaking, Sherry will be able to queue up the film. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Kelly Foster. I'm in London, and it's great to be here in community with you all during this workshop. And I just want to give you a few words of encouragement and hopefully some words of challenge as well. Even though we're here in a workshop this afternoon where we're supporting each other and working together, I also want you to think about applying the skills and the knowledge that we've honed today as we get our hands dirty, as somebody put in the chat, doing some live editing, not only in this workshop, but also outside of the workshop as well. How can we take these skills and this knowledge that we're practicing and that we're being introduced to today, yes, to our workplaces, but also how might we use it in our spare time. Wikimedia, the Wikimedia platforms and Wikipedia is mostly made up of, almost exclusively actually, made up of volunteers. So it's also about how we choose to spend the time that we have. I do most of my Wikipedia editing at home in a very fluffy leopard print dressing gown. This isn't only a practice for us to do in our places of work, but it's also for us to share in our communities, with our groups, and also for us to do as solitary activities as well. Two other things that I want to mention since I have your attention. Today is the UN's International Day for People of African Descent. It is the second of these commemorative or awareness days. The first one was last year in 2021. And it also marks the 102nd anniversary of the Declaration of the Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World, which was a declaration by an organization called the Universal Negro Improvement Association when they met in New York in 1920. So the UN's International Day for People of African Descent marks the anniversary of that very important declaration by what was at the time, and is still the largest international organization for people of African descent. So why is that so important today? As Mariam pointed out to us a little bit earlier, looking at that research article, it will take over 1,000 years to address this knowledge gap, as it's often identified, of citations by women scientists of African descent. For if we were working on it, it will take over 100 years to bridge that gap. What I want for us to think about is not only of this omission, obfuscation, and absence of the knowledge produced by women of African descent, not only to think about that as a gap, but also to think about that as a debt, and a debt that has been 600 years in the making. So yes, we are making our contribution to addressing that debt in the 2 hours that we spend here together today. But also I want you to take this as both permission and inspiration to be thinking about ways in which we can continue to address that debt in our day-to-day lives, whether it be on editing Wikipedia, on editing Wikidata, on editing Wikimedia Commons, but also in the work that you might do as researchers, also in the work that you might do as educators, and also in the work that you might do just as humans out in the world. Thank you very much for listening to my short challenge, and I'm really looking forward to spending this time with you this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Sherry, were you able to get the sharing up and running?
Hi, everybody. How are you doing this morning? And I am going to be talking to you like this today because you know what? Sometimes what they say, Murphy's Law, the thing that can go wrong may indeed go wrong. And that's a very nice way to put it. I want to show you some of the things I'm dealing with today. Hello there. How are you? So now you understand why my avatar will be doing most of the talking today. All right, so let's get back over here. Now I am the director of AfroCrowd, a group that was started in 2015 to address some of the things that you guys have been talking about already today. It was started by a great Wikipedian and lawyer and a Haitian blogger named Alice Backer. I joined her about 4 months after she got started. And ever since then, we've been holding some kind of wiki event somewhere in the world, starting first in New York, in Brooklyn, actually in the Brooklyn Library. If you ever get to New York and you want to check out one of the great libraries of New York go to Brooklyn Public Library. And that's where we started. A few months later, we moved on to the Schomburg, which is a famous library in New York. And from there, we continued to spread throughout the country. Then eventually we went to Ghana and other parts of Africa. And finally, we started having events in different parts of the world through fantastic people like Kelly and others in the form of wiki edit-a-thons and different creative ways of editing Wikipedia, then wiki data, and of course, in the mix of all of that, Wikimedia Commons. So as you can see, it takes just one awesome, and I'm gonna put in woman with a great idea to plant a seed in your corner of the world, whatever it may be, whatever form. You know, we're all coming from our different parts of our galaxy with our different ideas, our different expressions, and our fantastically diverse points of view. And regardless of if you see a problem, all of us have seen that there is an issue. Like Kelly was just saying, it's like a debt that needs to be paid, right? I was actually at the UN, being in New York, I was at the UN for a few of the events they've been doing for around this theme of Afrodescendants. And oh, go ahead, sorry, someone's had something? And one of them, for example, was Remember Slavery. We were there for that. And it's great to see that more people and more institutions are seeing the importance of this. But I think what's really fantastic is that we come together now in a time where we can do something about it, probably in the most hands-on way, one of the most hands-on ways in history. All of us here are sitting somewhere in the world. I see Sunshine, I see Natasha, I see Mara, I see Angelique, I see Nicole. It's so great to meet you, Nicole, and Miriam. And we're all coming from our disparate places into this little vortex here, where somehow we are sharing space. And something that AfroCrowd really, really wants to do is create space. Facilitate space where items like this can be touched on in a productive way. Ideas and information can be shared. And of course, our centrifugal force is people of African descent, wherever we may be, right? And we happen to have been founded by a Haitian woman. I am also Caribbean. I'm from the Commonwealth of Dominica originally and raised in the United States. I'm an immigrant. And you know, they're different, I'm left-handed. There are different ways that we are all, you know, our own kind of person. I'm gonna show a quick video from some of our earlier days. You'll see some of the places that we've come from, trying to attack this, this gap of knowledge as it's around people of African descent. And for us, of course, being two women, and I'm the director now the executive director after several years, of how of where we're coming from. So you'll take a look in this quick video that I hopefully will be able to share to you. So here it comes. And one thing I need to mention is that over time we saw Over time we saw the great use of multimedia. We've had events that focus on translation, we've had audio-visual ways of adding information.
Learn Spanish with Real Spanish TV.
Okay.
Click on.
I'm sorry, guys. This is what I got. I'm working with today. Sometimes we go to the moon. Sometimes we go to Palo Alto. Okay, hold on one second. Just bear with me, please. Thank you. Okay. This to say that we also use multimedia, sometimes effectively.
Words in the subtitle. To get an instant translation.
Ay, ay, ay.
Learn Spanish.
I think it is the ad and it will automatically pass.
Okay, all right.
Tech issues are, I think, a great unifier
Yes,
too.
just go ahead and play and the ad will just pass in 1 second probably.
Well, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to, I'm just gonna try and make this big, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Maybe it's a good opportunity for me to show you how to find us. You can go to Google and YouTube. We find using this medium is good because it's something everyone can understand, although you can also find us on Wikimedia Commons video as well. And you can Google YouTube AfroCrowd. All right. And once you're there, you're going to see that we've got tutorials, we've got, and this happens to be one of them.
In this tutorial, we're going to learn about the basic format of a Wikipedia page. Look at the tabs at the top of your screen. On the right, you have Read, Edit or View Source, and View History. The Read page is where articles are displayed. Most of us are familiar with this page. This is where you land when you're casually researching facts about your favorite performing artist, history. In this tutorial, we're going to learn about the basic format of a Wikipedia page.
All right, so that's one of our offerings. I'm going to try one more time to see if we can get to what I was hoping to show you today. And if not, I think I'm going to end the suffering here and we can just come back and I can get to know you in person. Okay. One more time. It didn't work. Oh, it did work? Okay, let's go. These usually go a lot better. I promise you that. Okay, here we go. So without further ado,
you can go to places like the Creative Commons search beta. This enables the right settings for commercial. This
oh
is
gosh,
Loomis,
no.
the first
Okay.
device for hacking.
All right, guys. So it's been a pleasure to meet you. I
Your
promise
metabolism.
AfroCrowd is fantastic. And I am an organized leader. And sometimes organized leaders have disorganized, for some reason, days. But one thing I've got to say is that I am so happy to be among you today. And I'm very glad to know that we have a good couple of hours ahead of us where I can meet you, where I can work with some of the people who showed up on what we have gotten to know over the last 7 years working in the Wikimedia movement. Thank you, Mariana, and thank you for everyone who's here. And hopefully we'll get to connect with each other in the breakout rooms, and I can send you the link about what AfroCrowd's about. But on a very serious note, I think what we're doing here today is not only empowering for people of African descent, for women and non-binary folks, but it's also an opportunity to engage in a very real, very productive way on something that we care about. And how often can you say that in life, that you can do that with such a great array of people? I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do together. So thanks again, and have a really awesome, awesome time here today. And looking forward to connecting with you.
Thank you so much. And I think that now that I'm looking at, we can share slides. There's some information here about AfroCrowd and some links that you'll find really helpful. So definitely check those slides out, and we can go to, now I'm having a bit of technical, there we go. So there we go.
All right, Miriam.
It really is the great equalizer. Figuring out all of these different tech platforms and having to adapt and all of the screens. So so going a bit back to Wikipedia and sort of the impact that I think our great panelists were talking about, just kind of like fast facts about Wikipedia's reach. So Wikipedia is the 5th most highly visited site in the world. On a typical day, it gets 32 million views. That's 32 million opportunities to introduce people to the amazing contributions of women and non-binary scientists of Afro descent. On English language Wikipedia, there's a whole bunch of different languages of Wikipedia. Only 18.5% of biographies are about women, and that representation goes way, way, way down when we think about women and women of color. The sort of visual aspect of Wikipedia, images on Wikimedia Commons, is no exception when it comes to representation. And so here I want to turn it over to the amazing Mariana to tell you a bit more about whose knowledge is doing to kind of bridge this gap or get at this debt, as Kelly sort of introduced, this idea that Kelly introduced. So Mariana.
Thank you, Mariam. And let me introduce first Sunshine, our fabulous Visible Wiki Women campaign, to explain a bit more about this visual gender gap, and also why we are running Visible Wiki Women to fill this gap.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sunshine. I am based in Kampala, Uganda, in East Africa. I am the Whose Knowledge Visible Wiki Women campaign coordinator, and happy International Day of People of African Descent. As an African, I'm sending you all the vibes of our ancestors on this day. And I just wanted to say what a pleasure it is to be here. I'm not a scientist, and I'm very new to Wikipedia, but what I am is a Black African woman. A Black African woman who is also a feminist. And so if there is something I'm familiar with, because of that context I told you, it's living on the margins, living on the margins of a lot of things that happen. And so really this digital visual gender gap is more than anything an explanation of what happens to women, women of color, Black women, African women, and how in more ways than one, the internet, Wikipedia specifically, is just a replication of what we experience or what we know every day. So when you look at Wikipedia, the bios of women in Wikipedia are less than 25%. Most biographies of people on Wikipedia are of white men, and men and most of the editors are also white men, people that are based also in the global north, meaning that then that gap is replicated in the ways these images are used on other platforms like Google, all the other spaces that images or biographies or information on Wikipedia is utilized. That means is very biased, skewed towards a certain category of people, which then further invisibilizes women. When you also look at the articles, so I've talked about the bios of women, but also articles of women with their pictures are less than 25%, less than 20%. And so our role here today and of the campaign, of the Visible Wiki Women campaign, is to make women non-binary people, especially women of color, Black, Brown, Indigenous women, wherever they are based in the world, to have their images on the internet, and to make sure that we bridge that gap in a way that ensures that our pictures, once you search maybe on Wikipedia or in other spaces online, that our pictures are not erased. And so it's our invitation today, and my fabulous colleague Mariana is going to share on how, for people who don't know how to do that, it's our invitation today and also beyond this day to just continue to amplify faces and pictures of women online through the Visible Wiki Women campaign, uploading them on Wikipedia Commons, on Wikimedia Commons, so that then we can continue to populate the internet and the virtual, the digital space with images of women, and continue to fight the erasure and the gap that we see. So thank you for having me. I don't want to talk too much because I know people want to get their hands dirty, and I will share links to the campaign, how you can join, how you can follow the campaign, how you can organize your own events, and all of that information so that you can continue to do this with us and wherever you're best. So thank you so much. And Mariana, over to you.
Thank you everybody for listening. Mariam, can you move to the next slide? Because I want to share you a bit about when we talk about sharing images on Wikipedia, in the Visible Wiki Women campaign and in this edit-a-thon, we are talking about a specific type of images that we can share there on Wikipedia, Wikimedia Commons, and Wikidata, which are sister platforms related with Wikipedia. And a bit later, I will explain more about all different platforms, but before of that, and before sharing a brief demo on how you can edit images and data, let me just explain what type of images we are sharing today for illustrating women of color biographies, or for making their images available for future biographies and for archiving their images. First, we only can share images in specific situations. Photograph that taken by yourself, that images that you are the author of, or for instance, a selfie or a photo you took of a friend made by yourself, which means that you have the copyright, you have the right to share the image under a free license, under a Creative Commons license that is the kind of images that Wikimedia Commons host and make available for everybody. Also, you can share images made available by other people that publish images online in other platforms using the same type of license, the same type of Creative Commons license. And we can go deeper on this later, but just let me clarify that you cannot just select the first image you get from Google Images, for instance. You need to check that the image is under an open license, and you have the permission from the author to share that image. And also, there are some images that are so old, from the 19th century, from the earlier 20th century, that are in the public domain. Probably those images were digitized by museums or archives or libraries or families and personal archives and shared online, but are so old that are in the public domain. So this is the type of images related with copyright you can share. And that's the kind of images we are looking for in the Visible Wiki Women campaign to share on Wikipedia. So before going more in depth to the process of edit and upload images, I will invite Sunshine to share with you a brief playful activity related with images. So we can start sharing a little bit and not just listening a presentation.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So we are going to take selfies because, well, we are celebrating women scientists of African descent. And what better way to do that than to take some pictures? So we have created a platform on Padlet that I'm going to share the link in the chat. And then I will demonstrate how you can do that. So when you go to Padlet, let me share my screen quickly. Praying to the God ancestors of technology to work with me, right? So let me try. So just click on the link on Padlet that I just shared. I can share my screen, Mariam. Could you?
Let's see.
Okay.
That's strange that you can't share it.
Okay, now I can.
Oh, you can.
Right.
Great, great.
Great. So,
Phew.
so just everyone go to the link. I should bring you to this beautiful page where we welcome you to the Wiki-thon and saying Happy International Day for People of African Descent. Now, just go to the link. If you can see my screen, you should be able to see the pink little dot on the right. When you click on it, you will get something like this, and then just click on the camera option. Make sure you've given your browser permission to access your camera, and then just take a picture of yourself. Put your name below, maybe how you're feeling, so that then we can get to know each other. So we'll take 5 minutes, and this will also be our break. Hopefully by the end of 5 minutes, we'll have as many pictures, as many faces of you on the board. And then at 5 o'clock, or 5 o'clock East Africa time, and then 10 a.m. Eastern time. What is the other time zone? Yes, well, at the top of the hour, we should be able to come back and do the demo and do some editing and uploading of images. Is that understood? Is everyone able to access the link? Yeah. I don't know why my camera is taking forever to load. Maybe because my browser is overloaded, but you should be able to see it on your end. And if you're not, just let us know in the chat and we'll help. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I can't wait to see all your pictures. Pause, and take. I can see a picture, Maya. Oh, feeling celebratory. Awesome. Come on, take some pictures. Do you need me to play some music in the background so that you can be inspired? I can do that. Yay! Hey, Natasha. Nice to see your picture. Really nice, really nice. Oh yeah, also that selfie has like filters. So you can put, there's like 3 different filters when you take a picture. I see you looking at me on the Zoom, but I don't see your picture. I'm just, yeah, looking out for people's faces.
You do have to hit publish, which I didn't realize, which is why there's
Yes,
a delay for
you
me.
do have to hit publish, so that yeah, that part. Oh, nice to see your picture, Mariana. More pictures, more pictures. We have 3 minutes. Yay, thank you for sharing. You didn't put your name, but still. Hey, Francesca, I see you. Anushka, if I murder your names, please. Sorry, it's the accent, not me. Yay, this is cool. This is really nice. Our love computer does not have a camera, but we have Patty and Rachel. Thank you, Patty and Rachel. Hola, yay, Angelique, nice to see you. Oh, hi, Dr. Ngozi, PhD Nigerian. Oh, amazing. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. 2 more minutes of selfies and oh, hi, Erin. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your picture. This is cool. I am loving it. I could use more pictures, but I am really happy with the ones I have as well. So I'm contented but asking for more. Thank you. Here, music in the background, it's not me, it's my neighbor. Yay, Annabelle, nice to see you. Thank you for joining. Nicolette, nice. 1 more minute before Mariana chases me to do more serious things like editing and uploading images to Wikimedia Commons. And more pictures, come on. Okay, I see 1 more picture. My camera isn't working, but it's Lynn and my beret. Nice, thank you for sharing, Lynn. Okay, so the link will remain open, and then maybe at the end we can take a few more. Yeah, so nice. Muting myself now and giving the microphone back to Mariana and Mariam to just take us through editing. So let's start editing. Keep taking pictures though, if you'd like.
Okay, I've unmuted myself. All right, so that was so much fun, and it's amazing to keep seeing photos populating. Really, really awesome. So Mariana, do you want to take this next section as we get into the actual editing part of this session?
Yes, I will do that. So I will let me share with you what are the different ways in which you can contribute, making women, non-binary people from the Afrodescent and from Africa and Afrodescent diaspora. There are different ways you can contribute. Sometimes people think that the only way is writing a Wikipedia article from scratch, but for instance, improving an article, adding references, adding updates, correcting biases in the articles are other ways to contribute on Wikipedia, and many Wikipedians are all the time updating and improving pages, and so you are invited to do so also, to create links between pages, but also, and that's why we are editing today, you can add images to articles, or you can just upload your images to Wikimedia Commons, which is a multimedia platform that hosts thousands of millions of images, audio files, video files, and graphics that are available under a open access license to everybody for using on Wikipedia and beyond. And also you can create items for a huge linked database called Wikidata. And that way you can link articles, images, and different pieces of information about women in science, Afro-descendant women, in a very interesting way, and I will show you how to do that. You can also translate pages or add multilingual information to Wikidata, to Wikimedia Commons. So if you are multilingual, if you know if you can write or speak other languages than English, that's also an option. But let's focus on Wikimedia Commons and Wikidata. So please, next slide, Mariam. Thank you. So I will show you how to upload an image to Wikimedia Commons through the Visible Wiki Women campaign. And then once you have the photo of that woman or the person, you can link that photo with database entry about the person, or eventually create that database item or entry in this huge open database called Wikidata, which is very interesting, and I will show how to use it in a minute. So I will share my screen now to show you how to do this. Okay. Oh, no, I think that I am just able to share a whiteboard. Don't know why. I don't know why I cannot share my screen. Okay, this is a whiteboard. Funny. Let me try again. Mariam, can you share or maybe can you give me the permissions again, so maybe I can check again if I can share my screen instead only the whiteboard.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to try again now?
Yes, let me try again. No, only the whiteboard. Don't know why. Because I need to share my screen to show you how to do it in my browser. So let me do this. Let me try to go out of the room and enter again using my browser instead of the app. So maybe that can work. Is that okay?
Yeah. Do you want to try one more time? I just did another changing of permissions.
Yes. No, only the whiteboard. That's the only option I can see.
Okay. Okay. I get. Yeah. You can head out, and maybe we can answer some questions from the room if there are any questions.
Yes.
While you log out and log back in.
I will be back in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So there was a question that Kelly had said that it should be happy to answer. Someone had asked about what about photos that we paid, have taken and bought the rights to. Can we post these as open creative access Creative Commons? Kelly, are you here? Do you want to take that question?
I am here. And
Okay.
yes, so the long answer, and thank you for that question. The long answer is that it depends on the agreement that you had with the photographer. So Wikimedia Commons, as Mariana described, takes openly licensed or freely licensed files, images in our case. And that means only the copyright holder can give permission to openly license those image files. So usually if you commission a photographer to take pictures of you, it usually depends on what the agreement looks like. Sometimes the agreement says that the person who commissioned is the copyright holder. Sometimes the photographer keeps the copyright and they just give the commissioner a license to use those images. So it completely depends on the paperwork. And so why is that so important? Because Wikimedia Commons has openly licensed images, it means we are automatically giving permission for anybody to reuse those images. That is something that comes automatically. So to not infringe of the rights of the copyright holder, it's important that you as the copyright holder or the copyright holder themselves gives permission. And so there are processes to make that happen. So I'm going to take some other questions that are coming up in the chat, if that's okay, Sunshine. Can anyone create a page on Wikipedia? I think Fozia asked. Yes, anybody can, but there are certain caveats. So to edit Wikipedia, anybody can edit Wikipedia. You don't need to be logged in. However, creating an account and logging into Wikipedia enables you to have certain permissions that you don't have if you are editing anonymously. So one of those things is that it allows you to create a Wikipedia page after your account has been live for, I think, 10 days, and after you've done 5 edits. So once that has happened, anybody can create a page. If you haven't had an account live for 10 days, and if you haven't done 5 edits, you can still create a page. It's just that it goes through a process of oversight that can take a little bit longer. So Patricia in the chat is asking, if we share pictures we have taken of other people, do you need their permission to share it? And what permission needs to be written? And Patricia has asked an excellent ethical question. So as opposed to the other question, which was about the law and was about recognizing people's intellectual property rights and copyrights, Patricia has asked a question that is about the ethics of whether we can share somebody's image without their permission. I think there are some guidelines that Visible Wiki Women has around this, which Sunshine or Len, please do feel free to share those in the chat. Personally, how I like to operate if I do take somebody's picture is I let them know that I am uploading it to Wikimedia Commons, and these are the ways in which it can be used. So for me, it's very important that I have their their permission, and they at least have knowledge that I'm uploading that image. Where this comes into play, and where I think is a great opportunity to be addressing this debt about how women scientists are represented on Wikipedia, is if you go to conferences and you have your phone with you, or another thing that Black Lunch Table, which is the other example that Mariam used in her presentation, they set up photo booths at conferences or other events in order to take pictures of people. Those are excellent ways in which we can then address this deficit of images of women on Wikipedia. But I know, Sunshine, there are some plans to do a photo booth at some events coming up, so why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we actually are working with a collaborative feminist photographer to do to take pictures of African women in the digital rights space at the Forum for Internet Freedom in Africa, which will be happening next month. And so the way we are doing this is we are speaking with her to collaborate and then donate those images under the Creative Commons license to the Visible Wiki Women campaign. So that's how we are going to go about it. And obviously, because this is a skill and this is someone that this is their work, would contribute to the resourcing of them coming to the conference and ensuring that we pay women for their labor, but also in recruiting, saying that this is the gap, this is the issue, would really like if you would contribute the photographs that you take at this event to this campaign that is about ensuring that more women are visible online. So yeah, I think, like Kelly said, it definitely depends on the kind of agreement you make with a person. And if they then give you the rights to the photographs, then you're able to share them. Otherwise, they will be removed if you don't have the rights to share the images.
And then Mariam brought up, oh, sorry, there was another one for Helena. What if the photographer has died? It's a private image of science women I want to feature, and the person who captured her is no longer around. Copyright generally in most countries lasts for the duration of the life of the creator plus 75 years. So if that person died more than 75 years ago, and I can share in the chat a number of sort of flowcharts and other calculators to figure out whether something is still in copyright or whether it is no longer copyright protected. If that person has died less than 75 years ago, then that image is still under copyright, and you would need to get permission from the estate of that person in order to openly license it. And there are processes that you can use on Wikimedia Commons in order to do that. And what some people have decided to do is they have a lot of photos, and they've decided to donate that collection of photos, that entire collection of photos, to Wikimedia Commons. So say you have a department, and that department hosted a conference every year, for example, during the 1970s. Or perhaps you published the magazine and the publisher retained the copyright for those images published in the magazine. They can sometimes decide to donate all of those photos to Creative Commons, and therefore they can be used on Wikipedia. So for those of you who are familiar with the open access arguments when it comes to publishing academic articles, academic research, it's the same argument with openly licensed images. The more openly we publish them, the more they can be used, not only on the 300 languages that Wikipedia is in, not only in this linked database that we're going to be exploring a little bit later, but also in your work, in your the research or the support that you may have in publishing and raising awareness of the researchers and the scientists that you work with. So it really does bring a lot more flexibility. And I think Mariana is back now.
Yes, and I'm back. I think that I can share the screen now. Can you see it? That's great. So how we can start uploading images, and sorry for the break. So you can
Mariana,
start, yes?
oh, maybe this is a problem on my side. Can people see the screen? No,
No?
Just
it just
I
says,
started screen sharing. So maybe double tap. I don't know.
Yeah, I see the same.
yeah. It says that you
Okay.
started screen sharing, double click to enter full screen mode.
Yes. Let me try again. Now
No,
it's not working. Okay. I just selected to share automatically the screen. All participants. Oh, this is odd, sorry. Never happened to me before, sorry guys.
It's okay. Is it something maybe you can share with Mariam or myself, and we share our screens instead?
I don't think so, because I need to share my screen live to show you the process on how to upload images to Wikimedia Commons. Sorry. Let me try. Can you continue with some questions, or maybe we can go to a break and I will try to enter through the browser instead the app, because I am using Linux, and maybe that's the problem. I haven't experimented this kind of problem recently, but just in case, I will try to with the browser instead the app.
Okay, I think.
Okay.
So I guess we can keep taking questions, or if anybody wants to go for a break, they can also do that. Apologies for these technical issues.
People can ask questions. If you have any question, you can like raise your hand, and we can get to hear some other voices that are not asked. Questions or comments. Oh, I see Lekelia has raised her hand, so you can go ahead.
Based on what you all just shared, I created, while we were talking, a Wikipedia account, and I went in to try to edit someone's page. And when I did that, I basically get gobbledygook that looks like HTML. And can we just talk about like a really basic, like if you want to edit something, you do this, click on this button, because right now it looks like I need to know how to code to do this.
Yeah.
It's Kelly speaking here. And would you be able to share your screen, Lekelia? How does you say your name?
You can call me Kiki, and yes, I can. I believe, looks like I have the right to share my screen. Let's see here.
I suspect that you're in source editing mode, which is like weird, not HTML. So if you click on the pencil button in the sort of upper right,
all the things
like,
from Zoom are on top of that. Let's see if I can try to get, there we go. This right here.
Yeah. And then go into visual editing.
Okay. And then I just type.
So that is giving you a warning, well, not a warning, a caution, reminding us that you were looking at the biography of a living person, and that because it's a living person, we have certain responsibilities to make sure that we edit responsibly and ethically. So if you can see there, it says, you know, do not use tabloid journalism, use properly cited material to edit this article. So once you've read that, and we assume that you have, you can press the X to click out of that. And before Mariam takes you through all of this, I just want to point something out very quickly, and something that is about practice since we're together doing this. This is a technique that people call Wiki-dojo, which works really well in environments like this where we're doing it remotely, where you have one person share their screen and then the other person talks them through the changes and the edits that they may want to make. So Mariam, over to you.
So, oh, it seems like Mariam is back. But still, I think we have the same problem. And
yes, I have the same problem. So I don't know if maybe Kelly, how do you feel about sharing your screen, and maybe I can comment while you are trying to upload an image?
I can do that, but just to finish off Kiki's question. So yes, what you saw and the transition that you saw was Kiki going from the wiki markup, which looks very much like HTML or markup language, if you're familiar with that, to a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, which is exactly like Microsoft Word. So if you can type in Microsoft Word, you can edit Wikipedia. And
all of the shortcuts are the same too. So like if you do Control B, it bolds things, and you can play around with formatting.
So Mariana, yes, I'm happy to share my screen if I can bring my browser up. Bear with me a second. And if you stick in the chat, I said that, now my browser's not playing ball. If you stick in the chat what page you want me to go to, I'm happy to do that.
Mariana, did you have a page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am just pasting the chat, the link to the Visible Wiki Women campaign. Is that okay for you, Kelly? For using
yes,
for the demo?
Bear with me
Great.
a second.
And we have also a work list that maybe you can use for if you need an example. And so you can look there if you want. And the example I was about to show you is Shumbusile Bofela from South Africa. So you can use that example, Kelly, or if you have other image, or if you have your image, that's also good for the example.
Well, I don't have an image, so why don't you tell me which one you want to use? Is it on this page?
Yes. Let me share you the image I was about to use. It is an image that I found on Facebook, and technically it's an image that we couldn't use because it hasn't a Creative Commons license, but we can ask to the to Kumbusile, to the person portrait, because it's a selfie. Once we upload the image, we can send out an email to Kumbusile, and we can ask Kumbusile if she is okay with release this image under a Creative Commons license. So the only thing you should do Kelly is to upload that image, which is a selfie. And once you upload your image, you can add a template, a kind of message to Wikimedia Commons admins, so that way they know we are looking for permission after post upload the image. That's clear, more or less.
Talk me through all of it, Mariana. So I've just downloaded her image.
Okay, perfect. I will do that. So you can see there our Visible with Women campaign, and that's the space in which we are uploading images and sharing images of women. So you can start there. You can log in to Wikimedia Commons or create an account if you don't have one yet. And once you log in, you can start uploading. Just clicking on upload, and think on this as an archive, as a big archive. It's not like in social media when you can share your own images under your own identity. You are using an account, but you are sharing images that can be used everywhere. So you can start doing that, selecting a media file to share. So if you have the image in your computer, or even in your mobile, if you are using the mobile app. So we have there the image we want to upload. And once you can also add multiple images if you have more than one. And you can, once you have the images you want, you can click on continue. And in case you are uploading your selfie or a photo that you took, you can select the first option, and that's the easier way. This file is my own work. When you own the copyright, the way is very easy. The next steps are super easy, but let's make it a bit more complicated, because many of the women that we have in our work list haven't an image on Wikimedia Commons, and probably we don't have a photograph taken by ourselves of this person. So you in that case, you can select this file is not my own work. And for doing this, you need to provide a source. In this case, the source is the link to the Facebook picture. But since you are using an image from Facebook, you need to clarify that you will be in touch with the person, and you will get the permission. So in this case, in the source, you need to add a short code, and let me share with you that, Kelly, is this shortcut. Please paste it with the source. So that way you will let Wikimedia Commons admins that that soon a letter from the author of the image will arrive to giving the permissions and to share the image with Creative Commons. So once and also you can add the author. In this case is the same portrait person because it's a selfie, and that's it. You can continue with the next step. At the bottom of the page, you can click next.
So Mariana, which licensing option would you like me to select?
You can select, I think that you can just leave the Creative Commons license by default and share alike, yes, attribution share alike, and then when you will be in touch with the author, you will let them know that that's the license they should to select in the letter. So that's you can just click on next, and here you have the opportunity to introduce more data about the photo. And that's very important because visibility is not only about the photo, but also about the identity, about who is the person, to provide a description. So let me put it in the chat for you, Kelly, the data I have. I got the data from Gauge, so and from some links provided on Gauge. So Kumbusile is a South African microbiologist, a plant pathology lecturer and researcher, so you can add that to the descriptions. And also, if in the original source there is more info that you want to share, you can also add that. And the interesting thing is that the caption of the image is multilingual. So if you know other languages, you can also select other languages and provide a translation. And also you can do that after the upload, and other editors can do so. So that way we are making women visible and in a multilingual way also. The description is, it could be the same or similar to the caption. And if you want, also you can extend your explanation, your description of the person, the circumstances in which the photo was taken, and other details. If you have the information. If not, you can just leave the same information that in the caption. Then you can select, you can provide a date, the year or the date in which the photo was taken. You can have a look on that on Facebook, for instance. Yes, it's 12 February 2019. So you can select the date, and that's important because remember, we are creating an archive here, an archival material. So that's why it's important to provide all this data. And the categories are like big folders in which we storage and classify the images on Wikimedia Commons. We are using a category for the Visible Wiki Women campaign that it exists by default, but also you can add other categories. For instance, the name of the person could be a category, because if other editors or the person came with more images, they can upload more images under the same category. Thank you, Kelly, for providing the Spanish translation in the description. That's awesome. So let's have a look on the categories to see if we can add more. For instance, you can say microbiologist from South Africa, or biologists from South Africa, or women in science from Africa. We need to once you start typing the categories, and the categories should be as much precise as we can. that way, we can start creating spaces on Wikimedia Commons for organize the photos in a better way. But anyway, you can continue adding more categories later, or other editors can, because the magic on Wikimedia Commons is that it's collaboratively as Wikipedia. So after this upload, other people can come and add more information or change the information. But categories functions in a similar way than hashtags in social media, but there are some slightly different. But if you are not familiar with categories, you can think on something similar to hashtags. That's a good analogy. So once we have complete all the data, you are ready for publish the file. And this warning is because some of the categories we introduce it don't exist yet, but don't worry, just click OK, and we can create the category later. So in this final step, you can connect this photo of Kumbusile Bofela with a Wikidata item, with the database of everything that that exists on Wikipedia and in other parts of the web. But as we can see, Kumbusile hasn't a Wikidata item yet. So we can create it later after finish the upload, and we can connect the photo and the item later. So you can skip this step, and that's it. The image is on Wikimedia Commons in the Visible Wiki Women campaign. And if you show there is under the photo, there is a notice probably saying that I will send. Okay, I will send an email to Kumbusile to ask Kumbusile to release this image under Creative Commons license. A volunteer of Wikimedia Commons will check that email, and in a month or something like that. And after that, the image will be under a Creative Commons license, fully available for everybody. For now, it has that warning about the copyright. And I think that will be a very common situation in this edit-a-thon. So in the slides, I have left you some resources and examples on how to proceed with this when you need to ask for permissions. And in the small groups, maybe we can discuss that and also after the edit-a-thon too. But we have a detailed step-by-step tutorial on how to ask for this kind of permissions. Actually, Kelly will do the asking for permission because she uploaded the image. So Kelly, would you like to just briefly show how to create a very, very short Wikidata item?
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's see if I can remember how to do it. So
I can show you. I can.
No, I can remember how to do it. So
yes,
we've got. And how do you say her name?
I am not sure if I am spelling Kumbusile name well, but Kumbusile Bofela. And please, South African here, correct me.
I was about to say, as one of the South Africans on the call. So I think she has a Tswana name, so it would be Kumbuzile.
Kumbuzile. Okay, excellent.
So I am going to create a Wikidata item for her now. And can I connect it to the gauge? Do you know if gauge is a...
Yes, yes, there is a gauge. There is a gauge item. That's why we are using this example. Let me put the item in the chat so that way you can
So
see.
this is as simple as it is to create a Wikidata item. I think some people we were discussing earlier Wikipedia and the requirements for notability. Wikidata has much lower requirements for notability. So because I don't want to retype anything, I am just going to go into what I've already done and add that in here. So a short description, create. And now a Wikidata item is created. And now I have to add the rest of the information. So statement, they are an instance of human. And usually I would add a gender on, but I don't know how Kumbuzile identifies. So I'm going to leave that for now. And then I will grab their gauge item. Let's see. And then I will try and link this to, oh, do you know what the gauge ID is, Mariana?
I don't know if there are IDs, so maybe you can just take some of the information like a country of citizenship and other things. And also there is an extra link, the Fabinet link in the profile, so you can get more information there
I do know that if Kumbuzile had a orchid profile, I would be able to link to her orchid, for example, but I don't think they do have an orchid. Okay, so.
But in the link provided in Engage, you can maybe find more information.
Yeah, let's see. So I know the country of citizenship, usually.
Occupation.
Yeah, occupation. And then there should be a area of field of work. That's the one I want. Let's see, field of work. Let's see if they have
plant scientist or plant pathologist.
Okay. There you go, botanist. Okay.
And maybe where
basic studies.
Exactly.
Okay, so educated at University of Pretoria. Publish. You don't necessarily need the details. Let's see if ResearchGate is listed as an ID. It might be. Disagree. Okay, so we'll get to judge my bad typing skills. Right, so we've linked it to one external ID, which is ResearchGate, or that could also be an ORCID ID, which I know Wikidata has. So do you think that's enough for now? Oh, I'm forgetting one thing, image.
Oh, yes, because we have an image.
Yeah.
And also, I think that you can even add Google Scholar also.
Right, do let me know, everybody else, if there's anything you think should be added or anything you want me to add. Now, I know Wikidata more intimately than I would like to admit. So I know lots of these categories, but as you can see, it's quite intuitive and it pulls things up quite quickly. So here we can see she has a Google Scholar profile as well. So let's see. Google Scholar author ID. And let's see whether that works. Does that work? No, that does not
Or
work.
maybe
Let me put the
just
whole, I'll put the whole thing in.
just remove the everything before. Yes, before the after user. That yes, I think that the code is after user.
Okay. No, no,
no.
No. Let's see. But I'm not reading the chat, so if anybody sees anything in the chat that is to be added, let me know.
There is an excellent question from Anushka about what happens if after all this work she does not want this particular photo publicly available. It's an excellent question. We can just remove the image, adding a tag in the image, which is a notification to admins on Wikimedia Commons to delete the image because the person doesn't want to share that particular image of self, of their self. Is something that is easily to do, and my recommendation is to select images carefully, or even you can contact the person in the first place and then upload the image, or select an image that is part of a professional profile or portfolio, and never select an image that it is, you know, a vacations photo or a very informal or familiar photo, especially from of living people, because here the idea of this kind of visibility is to provide professional visibility as a scientist and not to expose the private life of people. So I selected this picture particularly because it was shared by her in her Facebook as part of a Women in Science campaign, in a way of affirmation of her work and identity. So that's why I suppose that this photo is pretty is something that she wants to share publicly, but that is an assumption that we cannot do about everything we find on social media. So I think that is the more safe way to do this is, for instance, to use photos from LinkedIn or from ResearchGate or from professional or academic websites, and then ask for permissions, for instance, to the university or to the institution. That's another option too. But as I said before, if the person doesn't want the image on Wikimedia Commons, we can ask to remove the image. yes, if they say no, the image can be removed. And as I said before, it's better to be careful about it. So once we have the person photo and the Wikidata item, a further step could be to, for instance, to create a Wikidata biography. Once you have more references and information about the person, about their work, about their trajectory, awards, recognitions, discoveries, and so on. And meanwhile, why it's important to create a Wikidata item? Because Wikidata is a huge database in which every single item is linked with other items. So, and everything exists on, or potentially could exist on Wikidata, not only persons, not only people. For instance, there are universities, or there are papers, or there are fields of research. So you can link the person with all those different things, and after that, you can do queries to Wikidata to get, for instance, a list of women or African women in science working in microbiology on the University of Pretoria, for instance. And that's one great thing about Wikidata. And other great thing in terms of visibility is, for instance, the information on Wikidata normally it's shown in the Google knowledge graph when you do a search on Google, and there is a panel in the right, and normally Google takes information from Wikipedia or Wikidata and other sources of information. And the data is pretty dynamic. For instance, there is the year in which the person if you have the birthday of the person, or other data that it requires the age of the person, if that require an update, that will be made automatically. So there are many advantages for using Wikidata, and as you can say, it's pretty easy, and you can start with 2 or 3 statements or fields of information, and other people can continue growing the data of this person and more on Wikidata. So, any more questions? How do you contact this person for permission? Yes, you can contact the person on social media or through email. Another reason for selecting this profile, it is because the email is available in it's publicly available, so we can contact the person and ask for permission easily. And if you need a template of how to a template email on how to approach the person and what are the steps the person should do for getting the permissions, we have all of that covered in our resources kit, and that I will share in the chat. And you can see all of that in the presentation. So what if we proceed to have a time for edit together or in small groups better? Miriam, you are muted.
We can't hear you, Mariam.
How about now? You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we only have 3 minutes left of our edit-a-thon, and I know that a number of people had to hop off. So maybe what we can do is we can have our sort of hands-on editing at our Friday coffee hour at 13 o'clock or 1 p.m. UTC. You can register in the link here. And I know that there was that we wanted to also take a selfie of those of you who are left. So maybe we can do that as well. What do you think?
Yes, I think that we can do that. What everybody thinks.
Yeah, I think we can take the picture for the people that are left, because there are very few people left now. And then we can do the editing at our coffee hour for people who would like to join on Friday.
And Anushka also shared an upcoming edit-a-thon that we have at 500 Women Scientists in September with BirdNote. I know also that Whose Knowledge and AfroCrowd have other events that you might be interested in. So definitely follow them on social media or and on their websites. Oh, yes, Len.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Just a quick note on consent for the group image, as well as the Padlet images that we shared. So when it comes to the group picture, if you would like to be in the picture, just turn your video on. If you wouldn't like to be in the picture, just keep your video off. And regarding the Padlets, maybe in the chat you could drop if you had shared a selfie or an image of yourself, whether that is okay for us to share just on our social media channels.
Okay, all right.
And if you don't turn your cameras on, then we can edit you out.
Tell us when you're going to take the screenshot, Len, so that we can smile and put our best side.
Okay, let me do a countdown.
You've all got wonderful smiles, by the way.
Sorry, I'm just in the wrong mode. Okay, there we go. Okay, we got it. We got it.
Great.
I love the cheesy smiles going on here.
I will also stop our live stream. And I'm looking forward to editing more on Friday. I don't know if there were any closing words from any of our partners, but thank you all for celebrating with us.
And this was fantastic. Great stuff.
Thank you everybody for coming, and see you on Friday if you have time for a coffee hour to edit together.